So we're going to hop into a video right now about finding your dream girl. And as we grow up, we all have these ideas about, these highly romanticized ideas about the kind of person we're going to end up with, right? So like little girls they're dreaming of their wedding and they start thinking about, oh, like I'm going to go marry the prince and I'm going to have this Cinderella story in my life as I grow up. And young men are thinking about like, marrying Pamela Anderson, some hot chick or whatever the fuck, the little boys think of. And so we have these high hopes for ourselves as kids. So we have all this potential, but it's not until we start to become adults where it starts to get harder, and then we sort of back off the dream and we sort of settle into what's a little bit more attainable. We start to become realists, and then we settle into what's a little bit more attainable or easier to us, right? And so we back off the vision, right? And so the vision, in a sense, is unhealthy, right? Because nobody's perfect. And you don't want to have your standards so high that you never actually end up with anybody, right? And I've seen that. I've seen people like that. Excuse me. But you actually want to go out and get what you want, right? And so what tends to happen is people are starting to draw their partners from small circles, small pools of people, right? So you got your people from work, you got your people from the gym, you got people, maybe your friend group or whatever. Maybe you go out to the bar every once in a while, you have the 10 people sitting at the bar to draw from or whatever. That's a small pool. And nowadays with social media and dating apps and stuff like this, which I have my own method for this, I'll talk about that later, but we have this ability to draw from like a large pool. You just have to know how to like multiply the people to draw from, right? So if people are settling in to their life partners, think about like whoever you choose as your life partner is going to rub off on you, their habits, and their mentality and their mood and all this stuff. They're going to, like, you want to be able to have fun with this person every day, their finances, like all this stuff, you're mixing yourself in with this person, right? So now imagine from this small circle of people, maybe you found 80% of everything you're looking for, 80%. And what tends to happen is with your 80% partner, which as far as you knew was your 100%, you just never really thought about it, you just kind of settled in with somebody, your 80% partner, maybe a year or two into the relationship, it's like you have the trust there, you have the commitment, you have, a pretty decent relationship in a life, maybe you bought a house together, but like now you're starting to get that feeling of buyer's remorse. You love that person, you don't want to hurt them, you can't leave them because they're 80% of everything you want, but they're not 100%. You can feel that, and guess what? You fucking pass that 100% girl in the grocery store, you see, and you're like, God damn, I want her, and you can't do shit about it. You're stuck in your 80% of the way relationship for the rest of your life because you didn't pick, like you didn't put the effort in when it's time to choose. You have a window, and that's when you're single, to go out and get your 100% relationship, and that's the time to put the work in. Don't do the 80%, right? And that's what most people do because they're choosing from a small circle. So you want to expand your circle and we do that nowadays, through social media and dating apps, stuff like that. So I'll talk about how to do that later, or maybe in a separate video. But you want to find this perfect person, right? Or your 100%, your dream girl or whatever, right? So really the way that you want to go about this is to, number one, figure out what this person looks like to you. So this could be, you're coming up with a list of like maybe 20, 25 qualities that your perfect partner would have, okay? And obviously you're not going to find all 20 qualities in one person. So what you're going to do is you're going to rank what's important to you. So you're going to rank them all out. So you're going to brainstorm like 20 qualities on this person, what they look like, how they act, what is it about them that's good or that, that you would want or whatever. And then you're going to rank it in order of importance. And ultimately you're going to end up with, a top 5. And that top 5 is what you're going to hang on to. It's going to be non-negotiable. And what happens is once that's up here, your top 5, and now, well, actually 2 things are going to happen. Number one, as you start to go on dates, now you're in buyer frame. Okay, you're not in seller frame, and you're not trying to get somebody else to approve for you, to validate you, which women can sense, and they fucking hate that, right? They want you to be your own independent man. You're going to start screening them based on the qualities that you've come up with in terms of what you're looking for. Okay, so think about this. You're sitting across the table from a super hot girl, and maybe she only has 3 or 4 out of the 5 or whatever. Those 5 are non-negotiable. It's like, You know what I mean? You're in control at that point. Now, just to be real here, like in that case, because she only has 3 or 4 out of the 5, like you may not get in a relationship with her. It doesn't mean it's not a one night stand or at least a fun night or whatever. So that's a little food for thought. But if you're not interested in that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter. You just move on to the next one. And your feelings are not really at stake, getting rejected or whatever, because she couldn't reject you because she wasn't what you wanted. Now, this could be an opportunity to like create these defenses, right, to protect yourself and like, oh, nobody ever adds up to my 5 or whatever. So you don't want to go down that road, but you want to know what your top 5 are. Okay, so number 1, it's going to put you in buyer frame, and number 2 is like once it's up here, now as you're operating out here in the world, your brain is starting to notice which women have the top 5. Okay, because it's going to jump out at you through context clues. Okay, so our brains have this thing called the reticular activation system, which is basically it's information processing, and it's grabbing what things out here in reality are pertinent to your life. So if you ever buy a new car and you notice that after you bought that new car that you never had before, that now all of a sudden you're noticing that same make and model car out on the road and in your neighbor's driveways and all this kind of stuff, right? And that's because your reticular activation system is working for you. And so if you can train your mind to know what qualities that you're looking for in a woman, now all of a sudden your brain's going to work for you out in the world, right? So yeah, we're going to do a lot of social media stuff, etc. But even as you're walking around through the grocery store, out in the world, whatever, your brain's going to be working for you if you make this a priority and you do this exercise, right? So you find out all the qualities that you're looking for. You find your top 5 non-negotiable, right? So number 1, that's understanding what you're looking for. And then number 2 is just educating yourself after that, right? So there's 3 main points of education that I've taken in my journey. So quick side note. So my journey was like married for 10 years, then sort of got into my midlife crisis relationship after that, the fun, wild girl that broke my heart. And then after that, it sort of catapulted me into learning all this shit because I finally want to get this right. I wanted to get what I wanted in this area of my life, So I've always been, super attracted to women. I've always loved women, and I've always wanted, that really hot girl on my side who I loved and wanted to connect to and like truly had her, but I never had exactly what I was looking for, right? So I learned all this shit. I started to learn, so I educated myself, in other words, after my sort of heartbreak experience. And so what I started to do was study really 3 main points of information. And you're going to get all this stuff in my videos because this is what I've taken in and translated to you. But number 1 is Real Social Dynamics. A guy by the name of Owen Cook started that company, and they put out a lot of great videos. It's mainly pickup artist stuff, but it all translates into social interaction. And that stuff is huge, especially if you grew up as an introvert and you just, you're not sure how to navigate certain situations. So that stuff is crucial. Number 2 is Coach Corey Wayne, and he has a book called How to Be a 3% Man. And this book is free, by the way, on his website called understandingrelationships.com. And this book teaches you how to do 2 main things. And actually, there's a shit ton of information in there. But number 1 is how to gauge a girl's attractiveness towards you or your partner's attractiveness, because it always fluctuates. You don't never want to let it crop down too much. So gauging attraction, but also how to basically go out and date, how to not say stupid shit to women, because that's typically what closes the book for us as men. How to, there's a lot of rules in there that if you don't know, you're going to be fucked, right? A lot of, like, you meet a new girl on a dating app or whatever, or you just meet a new girl and you're tempted to have like a 2-hour long phone conversation with her right off the bat. This happens all the time. It's even happened to me. And if you don't know that you learn in this book that the phone is for setting dates, not for talking too much, because you want to have mystery. You want to have a lot of mystery in the beginning, and this book can teach you how to do that. Then you're going to blow yourself out of the water, and I've done it many times, right? I've blown several opportunities to date really cool girls, at least for what I could tell at the time, right? Because it's like a 1 or 2 date experience, just by not knowing what the map is. So you got to learn the map, and you can do that from How to Be a 3% Man, Coach Corey Wayne, and you put that in here, okay? The other thing is you can read Way of the Superior Man, and that is that's sort of like the spiritual, that's like taking all this shit to the spiritual level, and it teaches you as a man how to sort of find your purpose and live your purpose, but it also teaches you how to deal with women. And it comes at things from such a deep level. Like I can't even convey it here in this video because it needs its own little video. But you need to have those 3 points of information. Way of the Superior Man by David Data, How to Be a 3% Man, Coach Corey Wayne, and follow Owen Cook on YouTube. And all that shit, that's the education, right? So you list the qualities for women or that you're looking for, and then you get your education in place by these 3 sources, if not others, or me, And after all that, then you start going out. And really you want to educate yourself while you go out. And so as you go out, you're gonna start to fuck up. You're gonna see things go wrong on the date. You're gonna start to feel when things aren't really to the vibe that really it should be, right? Because with the date, you want to like get to know each other a little bit, have fun, and the vibe should be going up and up and up. And at that height, there should be a kiss, some kind of physical activity or whatever. And we all know what a great date feels like, right? So you're going to start to feel like when shit isn't really adding up. Some of that's going to be chemistry problems or whatever. Some of that's going to be due to the other person. But you're going to be trying to have the best experience that you can. And so as you're doing this, you're going to start to sort of notice, and then you're going to error correct, right? And as you error correct, there's going to be less and less things to fix, which means when something goes wrong, it's going to be immediately apparent to you. You can fix that. And eventually you're going to have like these super seamless, like really fun, high vibration dates because you've just learned how to relax. It's a really hot girl doesn't intimidate you as you're out with her. You know what to say, what not to say. And that's not from a manipulation perspective. It's just like there's certain things that you don't want to say. You don't want to give up. Like, for example, on a date, as the man, you don't want to be doing most of the talking. Okay? What you want to do is ask a lot of questions, which signals to the girl that you're interested in her as a person more than just her looks. And she's going to be doing all this talking, having fun, talking about herself. And that means you're not doing the talking. And so it's maintaining the level of mystery there. So she's going to realize at some point that she hasn't asked you much, and then she's going to ask you a few things. You're going to answer a little bit and then ask her another question. And it reinforces that sense of mystery, which is super important in the early stages of dating. And if you don't know that, right? Because a lot of us don't. We just want to talk. We want to talk about ourselves, etc. Right? If you don't know that, you're going to potentially fuck it up, right? And so you learn things like this because everything's crucial in the beginning stages. And you do that through the education process. So list of qualities, education, go out, error correct, and you just do that a lot. You just do it a lot. And so this brings us sort of like to the final piece. So one thing that I did to find my dream girl is to use Facebook. So what was happening for me is that on the dating apps, I started to notice like women join dating apps and they get fucking flooded with matches and messages and all this like super low value, like low effort level approaches by all these different guys. And they get sick of it, right? So a lot of women will join dating apps for like a couple days, maybe a week, and then they're off, they're done, right? They can't deal with it anymore. And so at the time, what happened was I started to notice this. I was noticing like my results weren't as good as I wanted. Like my in-person results were way better than the dating app. And so I started to swipe all the way through every day. So Hinge, Bumble, and Tinder, I would swipe through all the available matches, like max distance, max age range, that was appropriate or whatever. And then like just widening my filters, right? Swiping all the way through the available matches in all 3 apps every single day. That was a shit ton of work, okay? And it was necessary though, because what happens is if you don't catch them early, right, which is what swiping all the way through does, right? You catch them early, then you can message and then potentially have a shot with that particular girl before she quits or whatever. It was taking a lot of work, and my results weren't good enough, right? So then what I did was I switched over to Facebook, and what I did was, excuse me, I used the suggested friends feature on Facebook to suggest local attractive women to me. I would add them. They, not everybody would add me back, right? So I'd put out a bunch of requests. I did this as a discipline daily. Put out X number of requests. A small percentage of those would add me. And then after I had, like a couple thousand local attractive women who added me. So now I'm in their friends list. So if I send them a message, they're going to see it. Because if you send one without being their friend, it probably won't get to them, right? So you add them, you make sure they're local, make sure they sort of fit your criteria as best you can before you add them, right? They maybe add you back. Now at that point, just because they've added you doesn't mean they're actually interested in you, right? So this is where the message comes in. So what happens is I started to, what I did was I recorded like a 10-second message, and then I would do those. I would cater that to each girl I'd message, so I'd use their name. I'd record an individual video, and I'd send out about 10 a day to different women that I was super attracted to on Facebook. So this put me in the driver's seat in terms of not needing the match, right? Because adding a friend isn't necessarily an indication of interest on Facebook. It's just people just do it, right? And so it gave me access to the level of attractiveness that I was looking for with women without hoping they match me back. And it let me be proactive, right? And so if they messaged me back, that even if they messaged me back, it didn't necessarily indicate that they were interested, but I could gauge by whether or not they were asking me questions, what was their investment level in the conversation, were they going to be interested or not, right? And so a fraction of them will add you, a fraction of those will actually talk to you after you message them, and a fraction of those will actually be super interested in you. So you fill this out by the numbers game. So you can do this out in person. You can go do this in the club. You can go do this in the grocery store, whatever. You can do it on dating apps if you want to. But I like Facebook because I use video. So I got this from an entrepreneur group that I belong to where, if you send video to your clients every once in a while, send video to your prospects, it's a more personable communication, and it's convenient. And it just fucking works. And people use this in the business group to even maintain friendships. Like instead of texting or phone calling, they'll just send them like a short video clip every once in a while just to, like keep the flame alive in terms of the friendship or whatever, right? And so I said, hey, why can't I take this and bring it to dating? And that's what I fucking did. I started using video, and that's what works. Like you'll notice that if you do this, if you're confident in the way that you present yourself in the video, keep it short and casual, etc., you start sending it out like this, you will get response. So I have a student of mine right now that's using this method, and on his very first day of doing this, or it might have been the second or whatever, but basically right away, he got a response from 2 girls in 1 video. It was super fucking cool. He was blown away, right? So you can do this kind of stuff and get a great response, and it's a great way to gauge interest of the other people and drum up a larger pool to draw from. That's the key. So there are no such thing as leagues, okay? Everybody has these predisposed genetic, what we favor genetically programmed into us, okay? And so you got to search through society to find people who are actually looking for what you have genetically. There's no such thing as leagues. Looks aren't everything, right? But they do matter a little bit, and that's sort of why people get blown out sometimes, because we think, oh, like maybe our looks are off or whatever. It's just that, no, that girl that you try to talk to wasn't into whatever you got, but there are many other hot girls that are just as hot as her that would like you. So you sift through the large pool, okay, and from there you see who has your top 5 qualities, and that's how you end up with that 100% girl, not the 80% girl, not the one that you're going to be, dissatisfied with in a couple years or whatever. The girl that for the rest of your fucking life, as you're out with her or whatever, your eyes don't even have to wander because everything you want is like right here. You know what I'm saying? And then you go to bed with that every night. Isn't that worth it? Isn't that fucking worth it? A year and a half. It took me a year and a half. That's it. May sound like a lot. And again, I was devoting a lot of money to this. I was going out a lot. I read a lot of books. I basically made this most of my life for like at least a year. Okay, so yes, it did take a lot of work, but that's not that much in the grand scheme of things. That's less than college. College is only 4 years. Your career, you might even switch careers, but you can have like a life partner that you'd be super fucking satisfied with. So this is the method in a nutshell. I'm producing actually I haven't decided on the length, but it's an 8 to 12 week program on finding your dream girl. It's a video module course, and that's going to be released here pretty soon, and it's going to walk you through all this shit in detail. with daily steps, okay, and workbooks, etc. So look out for that. But find your dream girl, put that in your pipe, smoke it. Recognize that it's a worthwhile endeavor, and if you do it right, you end up with something that will affect your life, more than any other thing that you could possibly do. Unless you've resolved to be single, unless you're a workaholic and you really don't give a shit about relationships or whatever, which you really should, because to have a balanced life, you need to have your money in order, your physicality in order, your purpose, your spirituality, your intellect in order, and your relationships in order. And so if you neglect that, ultimately, if you say, you're a workaholic, you're only about your job, whatever, ultimately deep down inside, you're gonna kind of wish that you had somebody at your side anyway, So this shit's worth it. So anyway, look out for the video course. Understand that putting the work in this area of your life, a lot of people don't do it, but it's fucking worthwhile. And I look forward to going on that journey with you if that's something that you would like to do.